1987 wasn't just a good year for the NES. This is the year that Nintendo proved that the NES isn't just a one-hit wonder. This is the year where franchises were born that are still alive today. And this is the year that the console truly separated itself from everything else on the market. If 1985 was the launch and 1986 was the experiment, 1987 was the breakthrough. Today, we're counting down the top 10 best NES games from 1987. And yes, this is part of a brand new series where I'll be covering the top 10 best Nintendo games 1 year at a time, building the ultimate Nintendo timeline. So let's jump back into the year that helped define gaming history. Now before we get started, just a quick reminder. This isn't about nostalgia alone. It's about impact, quality, and legacy. How those games played then and how they're perceived even today. All 10 of these games released in 1987. Some launched entire franchises, some pushed the NES hardware to its limits, and some took massive risks that changed how games were designed forever. And we're starting with a game that laid the foundation for an entire genre. Pro wrestling may look primitive now, but in 1987 this game was everywhere. Each wrestler had their own personality, their own set of moves, and their own in-ring rhythm. From the infamous Starman to the agile fighter Hayabusa. This is one of the first NES games where character choice actually mattered. The gameplay was easy to learn, but surprisingly strategic, especially when playing against friends. Timing reversals, managing stamina, and landing those satisfying finishing moves made pro wrestling a staple and an icon, endlessly replayable. It may not be flashy, but it helped prove that sports and multiplayer games had a place on the NES. And if this is the baseline for 1987, just wait until you see how quickly this list levels up. Bomberman is one of those games that looks simple until you play it. Drop bombs, blow up walls, trap enemies. That's basically it, that's the gameplay. And somehow it's perfect. The tight grid-based movement, escalating difficulty, and puzzle-like enemy placement turned every stage into a test of planning and timing. It's tense, methodical, and incredibly addictive. Bomberman also introduced mechanics that would be staples for the series going forward. Blast radius management, destructible environments, and high-risk positioning. It's a clean, focused design and still holds up shockingly well today. This is only number 9. The next game starts to think way bigger. Rygar doesn't get talked about nearly enough. This game brought something extremely rare to the NES in 1987. A sense of scale. You weren't just moving right, you were exploring a world. Rygar's combat revolved around the disc armor, basically a shield on a chain, giving the game its own unique rhythm that felt different from swords and whips. Combine that with RPG-style upgrades and branching paths, and you had something genuinely ambitious. It's challenging, occasionally unforgiving. Rygar walked so that later action-adventure games could run. And speaking of ambition, the next game didn't just push the NES, it confused players in the best way possible. Goonies 2 is a strange concept, and that's exactly why it matters. This wasn't just your run-of-the-mill movie tie-in. It was a genre experiment. Side-scrolling action mixed with first-person rooms and puzzle solving, inventory management, and cryptic clues. The game didn't explain itself. It didn't hold your hand. It expected your curiosity. That sense of mystery, of not knowing what was behind the next door, made Goonies 2 feel massive, even when the hardware was so limited. Now, the game wasn't always clear, but it was always intriguing. Now, if that felt weird, good, because the next game turns thinking into the main mechanic. Solomon's Key is a thinking person's action game. Fast reflexes alone won't save you here. You need precision planning and problem solving. Creating and destroying blocks mid-level gave players an insane amount of control over the environment. Every screen was a puzzle designed as an action challenge. It's tough, it's demanding, and it's one of the smartest NES games ever made. Solomon's Key rewards mastery, not button mashing, and that's what makes it so special. Up to this point, we talked about innovation, experimentation, and risk. But now we're entering legendary territory. Kid Icarus is beautiful chaos. Beautiful vertical scrolling stages, RPG mechanics, platforming, and mythological themes, all mashed together in something totally unique. It punished careless play, but rewarded skilled players with permanent upgrades and branching outcomes. And while its difficulty could be brutal, the payoff was absolutely worth it. Kid Icarus felt different, and in 1987, different was dangerous, but Nintendo pulled it off. And this is only number 5. The top 4 are on another level. This is where atmosphere entered the chat. Castlevania wasn't just a platformer, it was an entire mood, precise movement, methodical combat, and one of the greatest soundtracks in NES history. Every jump mattered, every enemy placement felt intentional. Castlevania taught players patience and punished impatience. It was challenging, it was stylish, and it was unforgettable. And somehow, 1987 still wasn't done reinventing games. In 1987, Metroid trusted players more than any other game. No map, minimal guidance, maximum discovery. This game introduced non-linear exploration, permanent upgrades, and environmental storytelling, concepts that would change gaming forever. The atmosphere was lonely, the world felt hostile, and the sense of progression felt unmatched. Metroid didn't just create a franchise, it helped create an entire genre. In my opinion, these two games deserve to be on the top of this list. Punch-Out is still one of the most satisfying games ever made. Every opponent is a puzzle. Every fight is about pattern recognition, timing, and discipline. The characters were iconic, the presentation was flawless, and the gameplay is perfectly tuned. Punch-Out proved that NES games could feel polished, fair, and endlessly replayable. Even today, it's a masterclass in design. Which means there's only one game left, and I hope you already know what it is. And then there's The Legend of Zelda. This wasn't just the best NES game of 1987, it was one of the most important games ever made. An open world, save files, player freedom, exploration without limits. Zelda trusted players to get lost, experiment, and learn. And in doing so, it redefined what a video game could be. Every secret felt earned. Every dungeon felt meaningful. Every discovery felt personal. And in 1987, nothing else came close. When you look at this lineup, it's honestly unreal. So many franchises born, so many risks taken, so many ideas that are still influencing games and game design today. 1987 wasn't just a strong year, it was the year the NES became immortal. And this is just the beginning. This video marks the beginning of a new weekly series, where I'll be breaking down the 10 best games of each year in Nintendo's storied history, 1 year at a time. Let me know in the comments if I missed any game, and if you want to make sure that you don't miss the release of next week's video, make sure you subscribe to Super Gaming Minute and turn on all notifications. Thanks again guys for joining me here today. Keep on gaming.